Hello and welcome to another Jay's Politics podcast, part of the Podcast 99 Internet Radio Network. This is a Thought by Jay segment, and sorry about the little mix-up there for a moment. Totally forgot to unmute my microphone. However, I realized that momentarily after I started talking. But today we're going to be talking about Kevin Logan and Prager U, sports and politics. Not necessarily all in that order. But before I start with that, Kevin Logan, if you ever do watch this video, thanks, great. Not too worried about if you do or don't. But I do want to preface this by saying, for the most part, I agree with you about Prager U. It's propaganda is what it is. There are some bits of it that are truthful and factual, but that often gets overshadowed by the fact that a lot of it is propagandist. So, overall, I don't disagree with you about your points on Prager U. I don't entirely disagree with your points about the host of this segment. What's his name? Clay, whatever. Let's see here. Do you even list his name? Not right away, but whatever. I'm not too worried about his name. My point that I'm going to be arguing is not entirely that the NFL is, quote unquote, colluding with itself to prevent him from working because he's a black man speaking up for himself and speaking up for what he believes in. I'm also going to be discussing his stats as part of this. You overall encompassed his career stats, which by themselves are very remarkable. However, as a fan of the NFL, as a matter of fact, a fan of a rival team in the same division, the NFC West, I see Colin Kaepernick twice a year as a fan. So I will be going through the years since the Super Bowl. So basically since he started, mid-season, and going forward. Now that first year, I'm going to chuck that right out the window right now. I'm just going to tell you that right now. He only played for half the year, and if you were to carry that by itself with compared to all the others for the time period, it's rather difficult. I would have to go through each and every single one, and I might do a follow-up video to do that, because it might support your case a little bit better. Who knows? Not that I have a problem with that, but anyways, on with the shit show. So, Kevin here calls it Prager U, which is mildly entertaining. Not entirely honest, but, whatever. Let's get this show on the road.
Hello there, and welcome to Prager U, the series where I dissect and debunk the paid shill bullshittery of the YouTube channel, which masquerades as a university known as Prager U. And I say, hey Prager, F you. God, that's still so fucking clever.
I wouldn't call it clever. Humorous at best, but, whatever.
Now, as regular viewers of my channel will know, I very much live at the intersection of sportsness and politicsness. So recently, when Prager U put up a video called Politics and Sport, Keep Your Hands Off My Football, I damn near came in my pantaloons. So I'm going to take a look at this one. I was always going to take a look at this one. And as ever, it's dumb as fuck. Prager U's videos are always dumb as fuck. And this one is presented by the sports podcaster and all-round dude bro douchebag, the very Americanly named Clay Travis.
Okay, so there we have it, Clay Travis. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole video here. Because again, I agree with him that his points on Prager U being what they are, accurate. I agree that oh, hey, Diesel Dave. Hey, Resist Stupidity. How are you guys doing tonight? All right. So, I agree with him. I also agree that this person, Clay Travis, does rant. I've since done a little bit of research on this. I just didn't write down his name. Has politicized his points more than other people have. However, his point about ESPN politicizing things is also Clay's points about ESPN politicizing themselves is very accurate. I'm doing pretty good. Got off work. I unfortunately watched this video on my lunch break, which kind of pissed me off. So again, it's not so much what he's saying about the host here. It's not what he's saying about Prager U. It's what he's saying about Colin Kaepernick, and specifically about Colin Kaepernick and his free speech. So I am actually going to jump ahead to the minute 48 part here and let that play.
Twat.
When did ESPN become MSNBC? When did Colin Kaepernick become Mahatma Gandhi?
Well, it was when the dumbass in the Oval Office, whose balls you seem to love the taste of so much, decided to use his political power to attempt to silence American citizens. That's when he became Gandhi. Well, not Gandhi, really, as, not unlike Prager U, Mahatma Gandhi was not a massive fan of black folk. But let's just say that's when Kaepernick became a symbol of resistance.
Okay. He's not entirely wrong here with what happened to Kaepernick. Yes, Trump did come out and tell the NFL owners that they should be strict with Kaepernick and not allow this to happen. But he wasn't trying to use his political influence to do this. What he was doing was talking as a businessman. And here's why I say that. As an NFL player, when you put the pads, the jersey on, and everything else, you are an employee of said team. You are also an employee of the NFL. You need to follow those rules. If I were to, in my job as a retail clerk, protesting anything that my work does, regardless whether I think it's legitimate or not, whether it's a social issue or not, I can be fired for doing that. And it is not a violation of my freedom of speech. The reason why it's not is because I signed an agreement with my employer that I would represent the company in the best light that I can. Nobody else is responsible for my actions outside of work. However, I'm responsible for my actions inside of work representing said company. So are these NFL players. These NFL players are responsible for themselves. Hold on just a second here.
When the executive branch of the United States federal government decided to try and infringe upon the free speech and freedom of protest.
They didn't infringe upon anything, like I said. He was giving his opinion as a businessman. Yes, he happened to be president at the time, and that can make people think that he's doing it as the president. However, I don't think he was.
Test of private American citizens, which, by the way, to all the Trump-loving supposed free speech warriors, yeah, you might want to fucking get on that one, unless you're all hypocritical sacks of shit who don't actually believe in anything. Yeah, that might be the case, aye.
As a veteran of the United States Navy, I have no problem with what Colin Kaepernick or any of the players do kneeling for the national anthem. I have no problem when people sitting down in the stands for the national anthem. That's their choice. Oh, yes, he likes to, Diesel Dave, he loves to take on what he believes to be the alt-right, which oftentimes are the center-lefts of the world, including his own favorite hero, Sargon of Akkad, a.k.a. Carl Benjamin. I haven't even begun to research his stupidity on that. He also has a wonderful podcast happy hour with Christy Winters. I won't use the derogatory name because I don't know enough about Christy to warrant that. So, out of respect to her and out of respect to Kevin, I don't use any of the names that they get called by other people. So, anyways, like I was saying, the NFL is its own entity. The teams are their own entity. They have their own rules for how their employees represent themselves. Not necessarily resist. Technically, the way I generally look at the political sphere of things is it's more of a circle than it is a grid or a square or even a straight line. Because you have your totalitarians on either side, the left or the right, but it's basically the centers are at whatever you want to call the top or the bottom, wherever you want to put it, and it circles around back to where the two um, the two authoritarian types are. You're fascist and you're socialist, you're communist. And the socialists, like the Communist Party of Venezuela, the USSR, etc., they have blood on their hands just as much as the Nazis do. And the Nazis actually were a socialist order. They were just a little bit more fascistic about it because they were exclusionary, whereas the communists are, a inclusive, all inclusive. Does that make any sense? Resist? Why I think of it that way rather than how most other people do. But again, the whole point of his free speech here, infringement by the executive branch, is wrong. It's not even close to that. Donald Trump didn't ask for any laws to be created. He didn't try to send any bills through, etc. He just said, if it were my business, this is how I would handle it. And I would expect the NFL owners to do the same thing. I also see, and before I move much further, I also see the point that people like Kevin make that it is the NFL colluding to not hire him because you get quarterbacks like Mark Sanchez. We'll go through his breakdown of Colin Kaepernick's stats here in a second. But the point, yes, I understand that, Diesel Dave, and I agree with you. They do have a lot more blood on their hands. Just Stalin alone had more blood on his hands than Hitler did. Could talk about Mao Zedong and Pol Pot and Castro and everybody else. I mean, heck, just look at what's going on in Venezuela right now. I would count all the murders and deaths since they've created the mess they're in, on their government's hands, on their leaders' hands. But I digress. The point I'm trying to make is that Colin Kaepernick. Well, here I'll let him continue on here.
I love sports. I always have. Growing up, I played every sport I could. Michael Jordan and Bo Jackson posters adorn the walls of my bedroom. Sports remains my passion, and for 2 decades has been my career. I love that sports allows us a break from daily worries, to lose ourselves in the game, where the rules are clear, where talent reigns supreme.
Well, the rules aren't so clear in some sports. I mean, just take a look at last night's game. I am a Seattle Seahawks fan, first and foremost. I can also understand where the NFL is coming from on that the block punt was a penalty. And I would agree with it. However, it is a judgment call, and the officials decided to pick it up. So there shouldn't be an issue with that. Just grade the officials and show them where they're wrong and move on. The problem with replay is that it is slow motion. You can see penalty after penalty after penalty. But I digress yet again.
And surprise is always possible. And I love sports not only for my own selfish reasons, but for what it does for the nation.
So you like what sport?
Okay. Now, before I let Kevin go on here, he's going to talk about how nationalistically we approve of things like the national anthem played before our games. In the Olympics, we played for the gold medal winner, etc. Hold on just a second here. Excuse me, had a little bit of a burp there. Sorry, getting an update from my fantasy football league, which I'm sucking in this year, as always. Anyways. And he's not wrong. The national being up for the national anthem played before a game, and then wanting to deny people their right to protest wherever they are. Definitely, you can see the hypocrisy there.
Sports does for an otherwise arbitrary group of people connected only by artificial lines drawn on a map, linked only by being citizens of a political entity known as the nation state. And yet you wonder why it's all so political. I mean, are you really that fucking stupid or just lying?
No, I actually did miss a key point here, and I'll have to go back and cover it here really quick. Is that Clay talks about when did sports become so political? When did we allow politics into the sport? And like Kevin, I agree, sports have always been a part of the political scheme and vice versa. Politics have always been in sports. We just haven't thought of it until the activism has come around. So, for example, back in Rome, how did the Roman emperors quell the masses and keep them, quote unquote, entertained? Games in the Colosseums. When they took those away, started getting revolts and riots. When they brought them back, things chilled out a bit. We have, in medieval times, we'd have the jousts and tournaments for the knights between wars. Gives them practice and keeps the common folk happy and pleasant. You could even argue the point that modern day sports keep us distracted enough to not pay attention to what's going on in the world around us especially with channels like ESPN, NFL Network, Fox Sports, etc., all revolving around sports all the time. It is easy for us to get distracted by that. It's easy for us to not pay attention to the politics of the world. If I had been focusing on football as much as I wanted to this football season, like I was planning to do, if you go back and watch some of my videos last year, I wanted to start an NFL podcast in the off season. Never got around to it because of school and whatnot, but I'd still love to do that. But we would have, how do I want to put this? But I would not have been caught on to political referendums and initiatives that came up in the run-up to the election, such as Washington State's I-1639, which unfortunately passed. It's a gun control measure that a lot of the measure's points were already covered, or they hinder only those that are legal and responsible gun owners. So, for example, resist. If you were living here in the state, even though you're old enough to join the military, you can't own a rifle, assault rifles. Again, quote on the assault rifle part there. However, I could. But then there's a whole bunch of loopholes that I have to go through and hoops and things like that. It's a mess. Anyways, Kevin is not wrong. About the politics in sports. It's always been there. We've just chosen to ignore it. Think back to the baseball and NFL strikes of the 70s, 80s, 90s when dealing with free agency and trying to earn better wages. And when I say wages, I mean free agent status, things like that. I didn't hear much about it in basketball, so the basketball, probably the NBA was smart as soon as they heard the NFL and MLB going through issues like that. Yeah, if you're talking about the guns that I resist, yeah, it makes no sense at all. But I digress even further. And then, you don't even hear about it in MLS. You don't hear about it in NASCAR, these free agent statuses, because players sign their contracts, and we've moved on to where free agency is a thing in almost everyone, or in every sport. So let's continue on.
Which, by the way, is the fundamental question one must always ask when watching a Prager U talking head spout their shite. Because they do all take money from the billionaire Wilkes brothers, so shill's gonna shill, I guess.
Sports brings together people of all backgrounds to root for the home team. No other form of entertainment does this. Sure, a movie might be great, but you don't see Democrats and Republicans hugging and high-fiving after watching Tropic Thunder.
That's not entirely true. I have friends that are like that. But no, it's like, in all seriousness, Clay's got a point here. Sports bring together people that politics go out the window when it comes to a sporting event. Two of my best friends that I go to one Seahawks game a year with, we schedule around it, we work around it. We go every year. One friend is a conservative Christian. One of my best friends, practically a brother to me. My other friend is a leftist, atheist, and I consider him basically like a brother too. But the fact that all three of us can get along and just forget politics during a game, we don't even really discuss politics all that much anyways because we know where we stand and none of us is going to change each other's opinions. However, if we were discussing politics outside amongst the three of us, once we go through the gates, it's game time and that all goes aside, you know. And you don't necessarily get that in a movie, especially if a movie is political in nature. So, just wanted to get that in there. So let's go over to the stats, which is really what I wanted to, get to, is his talking about Colin Kaepernick's stats here. Come on. Let's get over here.
Not racist, obviously.
Come on.
And an anti-American former backup quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, more airtime than he got playing time.
Look, whether you like Colin Kaepernick or not, whether you agree with him or not, what is undeniable is that he has become a much bigger story than just a sports story. He has created headlines, in part due to Trump and the NFL owners' reaction to him, which have made him an internationally famous person in a way which far outstrips his profession alone.
Agreed. That is exactly what has happened to him. But what he's going to say next, many fans of the NFL will take issue with, especially if they follow the NFL more closely than what he does.
So why wouldn't the sports media give him plenty of airtime? I mean, the main news media were giving him plenty of airtime too. This is very much sports media's spotlight moment, for fuck's sake. And whilst we're on the topic of Colin Kaepernick, let's clear up that recurring canard about Kaepernick being just an ex-backup NFL quarterback, a lie repeated in a previous Prager U video as well.
As he put it, I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. Kaepernick no longer plays in the league because apparently NFL owners are racist against backup quarterbacks who don't throw well.
Listen to what she said there. NFL owners. Oh, let's go back here.
This is black people and people of color. Kaepernick no longer plays in the league because apparently NFL owners are racist against backup quarterbacks who don't throw well.
What a crock.
So, this is where my issue with Kevin comes in about the stats. He's going to be comparing Kaepernick's career stats to other career players. The oppression that he's speaking about and that he's trying to debunk them from saying is that there are other backup and third string quarterbacks that are getting jobs when he is not. He's not even getting opportunities to get a job, basically. He's not able to interview, he's not able to go test, etc. You know, which I think is wrong. I will agree with that. I mean, he is a mediocre player at best, to be honest. When we get down to it. And you'll see I've got you can see the tabs I have open here. But it is, how shall I put it? Kevin doesn't understand by watching the NFL as closely as some of us do. I mean, it would be like me trying to make a big issue out of something that's going on in the FIFA or the European Football League. What is that called? The Premier Leagues, things like that. I don't know enough about them, but I could easily go look up stats and be like, oh, this player's better than all these other players. Why isn't he getting time? But when you go in and look at the actual games and stuff like that, you can see the difference. So, and we'll do that.
Of shit. Now, a disclaimer. I'm about to go full sports geek on you all, so prepare yourselves for that. But note, there is a point to all of this, okay? The following statistics are accurate as of the 4th of December 2018. Now, in terms of him supposedly being a backup quarterback, well, that's fucking bullshit.
Yep. So, he's gonna... Yeah, sure, I'll let him speak.
Because he actually started 58 of the 69 games he played in the league, appearing off the bench only once in the 4 most recent seasons he played. So,
stupid ads.
so not a backup, very much a starter, and not a terrible one at that. Colin Kaepernick's career passer rating of 88.9 has him at 18th best of all time.
Okay. I'm going to let him go through this in its entirety from this point forward. He does correct himself, so I'm gonna let it go. Gonna let it slide here. But and just save your comments till after I do my stat presentation, okay?
For fuck's sake, and 12th amongst active quarterbacks, meaning he has a better career passer rating than 19 of the current NFL starters, and significantly higher than all actual backups in the National Football League. Kaepernick's career pass completion percentage of 59.8% puts him at 24th amongst active quarterbacks and ahead of many starters in the league. His passing yards per game of 177.8 has him at 26th best amongst active quarterbacks, which is rather impressive given that he also scrambled, i.e. ran the ball himself, at an above average rate and efficiency. His yards per pass attempt of 7.3 has him at 12th amongst active quarterbacks and is better than the career mark of 7 current members of the NFL Hall of Fame. His passing touchdown to interception ratio of 2.40 has him at 4th best of all time, for fuck's sake. There are only 3 guys in the league who are better than him on that. And yet the fucking scumbags of Prager U are going to tell me that the reason Kaepernick can't get a roster spot anywhere is down to footballing ability. What a pile of shit. They are liars of the most disreputable type. Fuck them. Now, is Colin Kaepernick...
Okay. Now, I don't know if you were watching his points, but he started switching from comparing where he's actually at to comparing with active players. And then only when he's better than some Hall of Famers and other career people, long-term players, he shows that. He'll make that statement that, oh, look, he's better than all these other people. And just as a little caveat, gotta throw it out to Russell Wilson being actually one of those 3 guys better at his touchdown to interception ratio. So, my guy. But we're going to go to this. So, here we have the statistics for quarterbacks, and I'm solely speaking about quarterbacks. From NFL.com for the 2012 season, his first season where he played a lot. And you'll see that he is actually behind 3 rookies this year. And, he's 30th out of 32 teams. Now, granted, some of these teams actually had more than one because of injuries and whatnot. But if we're just going solely by the teams, he's 30th. Now, I'm throwing this out. I'm throwing this season out entirely because, again, he came in for 1 game, or came in for 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, 5 games. So look at this. He's only coming in and doing minimal effort. Okay? Then we get to the meat and potatoes of his season, week 11 through 17, and then the postseason. So, after the average touchdown to interception ratio, so we're going 2, 3, 7, 8, 10 touchdowns to 1, 2, 3. Hey, it works out for me perfectly. 3. Pretty decent for, just, 6 weeks, 7 weeks of playing. And then in the playoffs, it's a 4-2. Still pretty good, but I'm going to, again, throw it out for just comparison purposes. He didn't play a full season, and it's not fair to compare him to people who were playing literally a full season ahead of him. So on to the season after their Super Bowl loss. All right. So this is the year that the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl and beat the Broncos. So we have Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, the usual characters up at the top. Tony Romo, 13th. Russell Wilson making 16th. Cam Newton, 15th. And where's Colin Kaepernick? Oh, he's 20th. So he has improved. He's played pretty much equal to everybody else in stats and everything. Let's take a look at what he was doing in his games that season. Don't care about the preseason. All right, so started and played all 16 games. His touchdowns were 21 to 8. That's actually really great. That's a 3-1 basically, which is, like he said, there are very few players that are actually better than him at that. But he was only ranked 20th. Let's take a look at his 2014. The year we went back to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots. Yay. I'm not bitter, am I? Again, 16 and 16. Now we're starting to get into more of the 2-1 range. 19 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. So how does he rank up against everybody else in the 2014 season? The 2014 season is basically where you see a lot of the wildcat, the option run starting to not be as prevalent because NFL teams have actually caught on with it. So, in the top 10 are pretty much all pocket passers. You got a few guys that can move around and get out, but, it's pretty much all pocket passers. Russell moved up to 15 and Kaepernick moved up 3. So, a bigger improvement than Russell Wilson overall, but he's still only ranked 17th, not even at the halfway point. Don't get me started on that play. Everybody saw that play coming. So, 2015, this is when we start hearing about Trump running for president. We start hearing about all this other political ongoings. And this is also when we start having the popularity of the Black Lives Matter movement. This is when we start having all these tensions in the country. So I'm going to go with where he's ranked nationally. And let's see here. Nope. Oh, Russell made it up to 12. But where is Kaepernick? Where did Kaepernick go? Kaepernick. Fell all the way to 34th behind the backup quarterback to Andrew Luck. So that's not a good sign right there. He couldn't even beat out a backup quarterback in stats. So, what do we got going on here? Well, he got hurt. He only played the first 9 games of the season. And 0 for 0. He basically had a 1 for 1. A 1 for 1 on his touchdowns to interception ratios. I haven't even gone into fumbles and fumbles lost. I haven't gone into rushing touchdowns or anything like that. But if you look at his win-loss record, it's 1, 2, 3 wins, 6 losses. You're noticing a trend where he's actually getting worse as the season went along. You're noticing, or as his career is going on, you're noticing that he's not doing as good. This is also because he's got a new head coach, new offense to learn, and that's also part of the reason. I'm not saying this is all on Colin. This is also on the coaching staff and the team change. So then we go into his last official season. So his last official season, he couldn't even beat out Blaine Gabbert. Blaine flipping Gabbert. How do you... I don't know, but you'll see that he improved in his stats. 16-4. But you can also see that you can see he still had a 3-1 on the fumbles to fumbles lost. But where did he rank in the league at that point? So 2016. And we're going to go down, down. Russell Wilson finally cracks the top 10. And where are we? He only goes up to he only goes up 5 to number 29. The man's stats were so inconsistent at the end. They were so inconsistent with his play that you couldn't even get him on the field. He was cut after that season. Does he even show up on here at all? Because I don't think he played in 2017 at all. Yeah, he didn't play in 2017 at all. And the quarterback that he couldn't beat out is playing on another team. So, I mean, what can you actually say? You know, was he really that great of a player? Was he that great? No. He was mediocre at best. He was, I mean, he had great moments, but overall he didn't have that much to do. He didn't have that much of a career. Because, I mean, look, his 2011 season was, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, what more can I say? Kevin, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to Colin Kaepernick as a player. He was mediocre at best. He was he's not even all that great. He has a very limited resume. Now, should he be given the opportunity to play? Yes, he should be. Are the NFL owners necessarily colluding to prevent him from playing? I can't say. I have yet to find an actual legitimate source that can show me that there's any documentation going around the NFL's owners or the NFL teams saying, do not bring him in. For all I know, and for all I can find, is that teams are not willing to want to take the chance for PR, and they don't want to bring on a quarterback who basically mailed it in his last 2 seasons. He wasn't the greatest at anything. He's a flash in the pan quarterback. Try to compete with teams and try to compete against other players like Russell Wilson and the like, and just didn't have it in him. So, honestly, so let's go back to Kevin's points.
Kaepernick the best quarterback in the world? No, he fucking isn't. There are deficiencies in his game. But Kaepernick is a significantly better option as a starter for at least half the teams in the league, and better than any backup or third string guy anywhere. On purely football skill set level alone, Kaepernick is easily good enough for a spot on any roster in the league.
As a backup or a third stringer, but not a starter. This is why people call him a backup quarterback. He spent his last 2 seasons acting as backups to people who he should have easily beaten out if he was a competent starter. Yes, not every quarterback can adjust to a new offense. That's why players who can't make those transitions don't last long. This is why Blaine Gabbert didn't make it in Jacksonville, didn't make it in San Francisco, sure as hell didn't make it in Arizona. The only reason I think he went to Arizona was just so that way they could get information on San Francisco. I mean, the NFL honestly stands for not for long, not the National Football League, not for long. Because of the simple fact you're either going to be hurt or you're going to be shown to be a half-ass that can't do their job properly. Only the true greats, the true really great players, do what Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, Drew Brees do. They come in and work their asses off doing the film study. Now, I was not there. I don't know that he's truly half-assing this. But based on his stats and the way he reacted around the team, tells me that that's how he was. That's how he reacted to the adversity of the change in the coaching staff. You know, the Green Bay Packers just fired Mike McCarthy because him and Aaron Rodgers weren't getting along. If I am the Packers organization, Aaron Rodgers is not coming anywhere near my coaching interviews. He's not coming anywhere close to that. Because it's not about can Aaron Rodgers get along with it. It's about can Aaron Rodgers do what he's supposed to do. People think that these multi-million-dollar quarterbacks, are the ones who control the team, and they shouldn't be. The problem we have is we get these prima donna players who think they are better than everybody else because they're good at a game. That's right, a game, first and foremost. And yet we have, these issues where we have to talk about, because Colin Kaepernick obviously didn't care enough about the game. He was more worried about what's happening off the field, and that is commendable. But when you step on the field, your mind has to be 100% in that game. And if it is not, you're going to get hurt or you're going to get replaced. And with that stigma attached to you, you're not going to get a job. Like I said, I have no problem entertaining the idea that there could be collusion going on. Just show me the proof. Don't tell me because a bunch of rich white guys, and can't even say that anymore because the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, but still. Because a bunch of rich owners don't want to bring in a quarterback whose last 2 to 3 seasons statistically sucked. And going back to that last season, what was their record here? Let's go back to game log. 2016. So what was their record with him starting? 1 win. 1 win the entire time he was in there. Now in NFL, it's a team game. I understand that. I'm not going to sit here and say he's the reason they lost, but when you go 2-1 and one fumble with a fumble loss, that doesn't help. When you're having multiple games where you're just mediocre at best, I mean, I'm not even going to try and compare him to, other players like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning because two completely different styles. I mean, I could compare him to Russell Wilson, but that's not fair to him either. 6 touchdowns and they were 3-6, Just in all honesty, we have to, as fans, separate our passion for the game to look at what the players are doing on the field. If it is in consistency with what we want to support. There are many fans out there who thought what Colin Kaepernick and the other NFL players that were kneeling were doing was wrong. I don't think it is. Like I said, as a veteran, I served my country in the fights to protect their rights to do that. However, it's not the government preventing them from doing it. It is the NFL, their employer. We all sign codes of conduct when we are employed with an employer to not talk about things, to not do things. I don't know about the rest of you, how you feel about it, but that's kind of where I'm at on it.
But America, and more precisely its orange man-baby in chief, don't take kindly to an uppity black guy daring to, speak his fucking mind.
Actually, like I said, don't have a problem with it.
That is why he isn't in the league, you racist, lying sacks of shit.
No, that is not why he's not in the league. That may be a part of why he is, but it's not the whole story. But of course, Kevin, I wouldn't expect you to understand that. Having watched his whole video, and link will be in the description when I'm done doing the stream, the whole point of this is that you are trying to narrate this the way you want to because they narrated it the way they wanted to. How about you come to it from an objective point of view? Stop inserting your political opinion into every single situation out there. Step back, take a look at it. At first as a veteran, I was hurt that he did that. But then as I sat down and thought about it and started getting into the politics, podcasting thing, and started wanting to do things, I was more like, yes, it is his right to do this. And that's what I defended. But at the same time, I also saw that this isn't the government stepping in and telling him no. This isn't the government, and it's not even the government's job to tell the businesses to do it because it's not a platform. This isn't a platform that is controlled by the public. I don't have the right to go out on the NFL field and just do whatever the hell I want. I don't have the right to say what I want, on the field to the players of an NFL game. I can yell from the stands and, do whatever I want, but nobody has to respond to that. It's, if any of you that are watching have any questions about this or have any input, feel free to say anything. I just think it's mind-boggling how Kevin can sit here and try to tell me as an NFL fan, as a veteran, and as somebody who follows politics that this is entirely about racism, that this is entirely about oppression. Only the top 1% of the athletes in the world that play American-style football can actually make it to the pro level. So, I mean, seriously, what does the NFL owe him at all? Does the NFL owe him a job? No. Does my employer owe me a job? No. People equate, just to bring this in from my last video, Sargon. I'm hearing on the internet that people are saying he needs to go get a real job. Well, let these football players that have issues getting on team go get a real job. Let's have these. Let's have all these players who play a game for 10, 15 years, and it does take a toll on them. I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't. Let them go get a real job afterwards. Let them go punch the clock 9 to 5. I mean, of all the players in the NFL that I've watched and hated because he played against my team, Kurt Warner. I won't say he's a great quarterback. I mean, he's a great man overall because he tried to play football. They told him no. He was working at his father's grocery store when he got the call, hey, can you come play for us? And then rekindled his career. How many players nowadays could say that they were, doing that? You have other players that, have quit the NFL to go work on farms. Oh, what's his name? Here, I'm going to switch camera angles here really quick. Oh, what's his name? Sorry about the dead air here. This is why I need a co-host, Oh, here we go. Jason Brown. Let me pull this back up here. Jason Brown. Why a star football player traded NFL career for a tractor. At one point, number 60, Jason Brown was one of the best centers in the NFL. At one point, he had a 5-year, $37 million contract with then St. Louis Rams. And
hey, friends, remember getting us for the holidays? You're like...
Anyways, the whole point I'm trying to make here is that you have players that do this type of thing, that realize that there's more to life than the NFL. There's more to life than a game, and they're willing to do it. And why can't these other players do it? Now, Colin Kaepernick, from what I hear, has been trying to get into philanthropy, doing the humanitarian thing. More power to him. But again, the NFL doesn't owe him squat at all. I wanted to be an NBA player. The NBA didn't owe me squat. I didn't even make the varsity team of my small high school where I graduated with 10 other people. I certainly thought I was good enough to make the varsity team. I got passed up for other people. But, it is what it is. If you really want something, you go and get it. You go and strive for it. You don't let people tell you no. What Colin's been doing is basically laying down and letting people tell him no, and then, well, it's not fair. It's just one of those things. It really irritates me that Kevin thinks like this. Let's see. What else does he have to say?
And because ESPN leads the field, much of the sports media followed suit. The result? When you go to the sports section of USA Today or Yahoo or even Sports Illustrated, you're as likely to read about players' thoughts on the president as you are about their thoughts on the game.
Good. I'd rather listen to them talk about something with a bit of passion, which they can't really do about their own sports.
And I agree. They have the right. Once the game is over, they can talk about what they want. And that is fine by me. I hope that they would actually wouldn't get fined for saying things. But again, sometimes there are lines that are crossed. I'm not the one who makes those lines. So it is what it is.
A lot of the time. I mean, have you heard the kinds of pablum that sports stars serve up when talking about their own sports in regular interviews, for fuck's sake?
Just, defensively, offensively, they just kept getting buckets.
Anyways, it's the typical after game interview,
So, I need to feel that, so I get better and, hopefully never happen again. So,
Yeah, I'd rather hear them talk about their political views, or frankly anything else, rather than that load of old stale garbage. So why are you complaining about that? I mean, what, you'd prefer to fucking hear them soullessly drone on about drawing positives from tonight's performance? Get fucked. Also, you hypocritical charlatan, you say that sports journalists shouldn't put up with this shit,
and I will agree with him on this. If you want to watch the whole video, it'll be in the description below. But I'm pretty much ready to wrap this up here. Kevin, you sit here and spout that, the NFL is racist, the NFL is this and that. Yet the majority of the players are African American, people of color, than they are white. Yes, the more predominant positions such as quarterback are held by white people. Sure, I will concede that. Majority of the owners are white, old white men. Concede that as well. That doesn't inherently mean that the system is racist. It doesn't mean that it is a bad thing. What it means is that there are few people that can afford to do this type of thing. The average NFL team is worth over $1 billion, I would assume. Heck, I'll even look that up right now. Current value of NFL teams. Let's see. Here we go. This is on Forbes. All right. And I'm going to mute the computer for a minute. Current value of the Dallas Cowboys, $5 billion. Current value of the New England Patriots, 3. So let's go down to 16. I might be wrong in my estimate here. Oh, no, look, 16, 2.5, 2.58, 2.575. So basically the same value. Let's see, where are... Oh. Even the lowest team is $1.6 billion worth is its value. How many people can actually hold that much money? How many people have that much money handy? I mean, heck, the only team here that's not actually owned by quote unquote one individual or a group of businessmen is the Green Bay Packers, who's actually owned by the city of Green, or owned by the citizens of the city of Green Bay because they, pay for it entirely. So, but I mean, you have teams on here like the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they go. That's owned by a group of people, predominantly. There's a front man owner, Yeah, Diesel Dave, nobody cares about Dallas. I might have to have you on here one of these days, Diesel Dave, just because you love football. We could argue all day. I just found out one of my coworkers is a Dallas Cowboys fan, so me and him were getting into it the other day. But I mean, the whole point of it is, even the Seahawks, we were, even though Paul Allen was the quote unquote owner, he was the majority owner in a group, and now they're going to have to sell off their shares, Most major league teams aren't even owned by one individual anymore. They're owned by, conglomeration of people pooling together their money. And based on your percentage of how much you chipped in is how much you're going to get out of it. Just like owning a business. Oh, wait, isn't that what this is? Yes, it's a business. Oh, well, it is what it is. I'm just having one of those days, where it's like, why? Why are we even discussing this? Why do I have to defend Prager U and Clay Travis from your arguments, which is not even what I'm trying to do here, but I kind of feel like I have to, because you don't understand how the NFL works as a business. Wow, totally meant to get off of here, but that's what happens when I find another tangent to roast him on. Kevin, please feel free to message me however you want. Down below in the comments section, contact me on Twitter at j_brown1981. Also on Gabs, also on where? What else was I going to say? Totally lost it. Anyways, Kevin Logan, you need to stick to whatever your day job is. I don't even know what it is. But it is not telling Prager U to F you. Because for once, they are right. He is a backup and was a backup. And that's all he's good to be until he can prove otherwise. Come to me if you have hard evidence that there's collusion between the NFL owners. Come to me if you have something to share on that. But for all I care right now, Kevin, is that you can F you about your Prager U videos. Because you didn't do anything with this other than just make yourself look like a pedantic idiot. All right. That's going to be the end of this one today. Thanks for watching. And also, thank you guys for supporting me. I am still working on a poll that I'm going to probably put on Twitter as well as on my YouTube channel. And I might be on Lords of the Night tonight, Diesel Dave, as far as in the chat, because there's the YouTuber Law is doing a live stream today talking about the Sargon incident. Yeah, I may have both going at the same time. I have tablets, so and I'm also supposed to be playing video games with the wife at that point too. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going to be putting together a poll. I know I only have a few subscribers, but I am considering starting a Patreon or Subscribe Star style thing. I'm researching it into my state's requirements for that, because Washington State is one of those wonderful states that you have to pay sales tax on everything, including online. And even if I sell a product to somebody outside the state, I still have to pay sales tax on it. So possibly, we'll see how it goes. Anyways, thank you for watching again. Have a great weekend, or have a great week, because it's only Tuesday. And check us out on AT2 Productions on Friday nights from 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific till 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific for Veterans Talk Weekly, where we just have a bunch of vets sitting around shooting the shit. Have a great day.